Hey BookTube, it's Jackie. How's it going? If you are new to me and this is the first time you're seeing my face, hello, my name is Jackie. I sit on my floor and I talk about books. So I hope that's why you're here, because that's what's going to be happening today. If you are not new to me, thank you for tuning in and the continued support. Today for you, I have my weekly wrap up. This is from May 8th through May 14th and all my reading shenanigans in between. I've got quite a bit to talk about, so we're going to dive right in. So quickly go grab yourself a drink, have a seat, and let's talk some books. So, at the beginning of this week, I was finishing up the Mafia romance Readathon hosted by Jen over the Book Refuge. I will link her channel down below for you guys. She's fantastic. I love her. I just love watching her videos. She's so on point with her recommendations, and I just love her in general. She's a great person. And she hosted this readathon, and I just was all in this readathon. I think I found a new favorite subgenre. Two of the books I read for this readathon were part of the Wicked Dom series by Jane Henry. And when I completed those two, I loved them so much, I picked up the third one. And that is actually the first book I completed this week. And that would be The Bratva's Captive by Jane Henry. And here's the picture of the cover. If you see me looking down this way, my laptop is down here with my notes, just a heads up. But here's the cover. This is Maxim. This is the third and final installment in the Wicked Dom series. It is an audiobook, which is how I listen to it. And it is narrated by Kay Kennicott and Wen Ross, who I personally love this combination. I think they do a fantastic job, and it really lends to the success of this book for me. Wen Ross's voice is just stellar. Like, it's just, amazing. But this is a captive romance with mild BDSM tones, dubious consent, violent acts, and PTSD triggers. So you have been warned. This is some of the subject material I'm going to be talking about, so you have been warned. Now, I gave this book 5 stars, which I also gave its sequel to the series 5 stars as well, and the first one I only gave a 4-star. So this series was on point for me, and I am super excited about it. I just ate this series up. This installment follows Maxim and Olena. Maxim actually gets captured at the end of book 2, and he is rescued and is suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder from his torture and his time in captivity. And he comes to find out that because he escaped his captor, who is the boss of a rival Bratva Mafia, finds his girlfriend and kills her in cold blood. So now he wants revenge, not only for himself, but for Taya, his deceased girlfriend. So the thing you have to understand about Maxim, we met him in Bratva's Baby and Bratva's Bride, and in both installments, he is very much the figure that is not cool with the kidnapping of the girls, with the training of them. He's not. He's like, I'm down for the arms dealing. I'm down for all the other negative shit. I'm down for the enforcing, but I am not cool with this. This is the area of this I'm not cool with. I just don't want to do it. Not that he has a problem with his brothers doing it. He personally doesn't want to take part in it. So when Taya is killed and he thinks of revenge, he's going to the only way he thinks will work the best. And that is to kidnap the rival Bratva boss's daughter, Olena. And Olena is a very sheltered young girl who was originally raised in the States but moved to Russia after her mother's passing. And she knows nothing about the Mafia life except that her dad is the pecan of their Bratva, and he keeps her completely in the dark 100%. So very, very sheltered, except she knows that she hates it. She hates anything to do with the Mafia. She thinks it's ridiculous. She doesn't like it. It stagnates her creativity and all that jazz. So a plan develops to kidnap her and use her basically as a hostage kind of ransom situation. And that's exactly what happens. But of course, this is a romance novel. It's a BDSM romance novel. So there is some training involved. And Maxim has to exact that training. The only difference in this book really from the other ones is that Maxim just can't do it the way his brothers can, because he has suffered this himself in the non-sexualized version of it. And so when he goes to perform some of these actions, you see the PTSD triggers in him and it stops him. So this romance is, yes, it's a captor-captive, but it is definitely a lot different than the other two installments. Alina as well suffers from PTSD because this is not her first encounter of being kidnapped because of who her father is. So she kind of knows the game, she knows what's expected, and she plays it. But she learns from Maxim's little bitty cues that he's just not like this normally. This is not his deal, this is not his shtick, and so she plays on that. And through their mutual stress, their mutual past experiences, they formulate this, which is what seems to be a very, very sweet romance. And it's very endearing. There is some BDSM sex scenes, but there is also some very intimate, very vanilla, plain sex scenes, and they work just as well as the hardcore shit. Jane Henry went above and beyond with this one. She gave us the soft and the hard in both. So leather and lace, both in this book, and it was fantastic. She did an excellent job with this one. These sex scenes, however, as well as they were done, I only gave them a 4 on the spice scale, which is created by Jen over at Book Refuge. I'm still using her spice scale rating because I think it's perfect. I don't see anything wrong with it, and I would like to give her credit, so please go check her videos out. She did create this, and I'll link the video that she explains it in as well. Some of the sex scenes did include the BDSM ones. They were very heavy on the submission because he didn't want to actually fight her and hurt her. So he just kind of forced vocally the submission, and that really didn't work out too well in his advantage. So there was a multiple spanking and paddle scenes, which apparently Alina was totally off on. She was completely cool with it. She orgasmed a few times off of it. I've never heard somebody doing that before, so that was a unique element. There is toys and apparatuses. They're more mentioned than they actually are used. So there's that. And then, of course, I mentioned the vanilla love scene, which was really, really intimate. Just the soft caressing and the kissing and the build-up. And it just was very, very well done. Very, very tasteful in both scenarios. What worked in this book was the storyline and the plot. I loved it. I loved how it started as one thing, but then you saw the change based off the characters and their arcs, how the plot molded and changed into something so much cooler. So much cooler. The internal struggles of both characters were clearly visible. They had their internal monologues going back and forth, but you also see from their conversations those internal monologues becoming external monologues between each other. There was a lot of communication in this book, a lot more than the other books. All the other books were more internalized, and then they became external through the sex scenes and the events of the story. Their internal became external conversations between the two characters, and I really, really enjoyed that. Very character-driven in this one. Very, very character-driven. This one is the third installment, and it tied in with the first two seamlessly. They were able to tie the first one in and the second. The second was a lot easier because that's where Maxim gets kidnapped, but it really made the series a succinct unit. You could still read these individually if you'd like, but you will enjoy the series a lot more if you read them in order. And then this one is just a nice end cap. It's a nice ending to it. The heroine was really relatable to me. I saw a lot of myself in her, and so I really enjoyed that because she, unlike the other heroines, Sadie was very mousy in the beginning. Larissa, aka Galena, was playing someone very mousy. Alina was not mousy. She was like, fuck you, dude. I've already gone through this. You can't do anything to me that's not already been done, so please, just get it over with so I can move on with my fucking life. And I just really related to that because I feel like that's how I would be if that situation. It's like, I don't really give a shit what you do, just don't fucking kill me. But then again, I have no idea what I'd be like in that situation. She just seems very relatable. And as I already said, brought the PTSD triggers right to the forefront, made them very visible, did not shy away from them, and I really appreciated that as well. Now, the only things that really didn't work in this book for me were the ease of the infiltration at the end of the book. Again, it's one of those endings that just kind of, hey, we gotta wrap this up, let's do this, and you just infiltrate another Bratha completely easy, like no one knew that you weren't a member of them. Because you changed your clothes. Okay, I don't see that happening. But then again, I'm not in the Mafia, so yeah. And then there were some unanswered questions. The main one was, why did the rival Bratva's boss, Borgoff, want Taya dead? I am assuming only that is because Maxim escaped. But it's never actually clearly given to you why. So that kind of bothers me that I have to assume the answers, because we all know what happens when you assume. You make an ass out of you and me, and I really don't like being made of an ass of. So that's bothering me. But all in all, 5 stars. It was a great start to the beginning of the week. And again, the narration was on point when Ross and Kay Kennicott did fan-freaking-tastic. And the cool part is that this installment actually showed us a new character for a spin-off series, which is Ruthless Doms, which is set in the States with Nikolai, and I very much plan on picking up that series because I really like the way Jen Henry writes. Very much so. Once I was done with Bratva's Captive, we'll just say goodbye to Maxim now for a little bit. I wanted another Audible book, but I did not want to use any of my credits. So I chose a free one on Audible Plus, and I found Dirty Wolf by 80 Award. And here you go. Okay, so this was free. Okay, I'm just going to set this out, that this was a free one. And it is the first installment. A lot of the free books aren't always the first ones, so it's kind of hard to find those, but I did find a first one, that first installment, and this series name is Alpha Wolves Want Curves. Okay, I'm a plus-size girl. Let's bring this on. This sounds exciting. We'll do a little shapeshifter romance. It is narrated by Kurt Bonham and Stephanie Rose, and we'll get to that. It is a paranormal romance with very graphic language and graphic content, and the aspect of voyeurism and exhibitionism. So, if you are not familiar with voyeurism and exhibitionism, voyeurism is the act of getting sexually aroused by watching others perform sexual acts, usually without them knowing, but it does also play into people knowing. And then exhibitionism is that you are sexually aroused by having someone watch you perform sexual acts. So, those two go hand in hand together with this book as well. Now, this installment follows Max and Galena. Max is the second born to the Troika, I think that's how you say it, Troika Lycan clan of Rogue, New York, and has never intended to be alpha. He is second born, he's never intended to be alpha. Galena is a nerdy librarian with some serious curves. Like, she is a full-figured girl, stretch marks, the whole 9 yards, and I love the fact that 80 Award wrote her like that. That is one of the biggest pluses in this book for me, is that she gave me a plus-size heroine, kind of like me, who's nerdy, and I like it. I love this about her. Now, Max has been in love with Galena since high school. He's always been attracted to her, always been obsessed with her, but never had anything to do with her because Max is a werewolf and Galena is a human, and it is forbidden in werewolf world law to mate with humans. You can fool around a little bit, but you can't actually mate and form serious relationships and attachments with them because it is forbidden. The oldest of the Troika boys is Nico, and he has gone off to Russia to work for the Tsar. Volkov is how you say their name. And in the beginning, he is accused of assassinating him. And so the Troika clan is like public enemy number 1 to all werewolves. But by this assassination of the Tsar, it has opened up the world for breaking a lot of the werewolf rules, such as mating with humans. And that's where our story really starts to kick off. So Nico is accused of assassinating the Tsar and is killed in the process of trying to escape. So therefore, Max has now been bumped up to Alpha, the Alpha heir apparent. And later on, he does become Alpha because his father, Petrov, is assassinated as well. And all of these political machinations start unfolding. So the law of not being able to mate with humans, that is shot out the window really fucking fast. Rival Lycan clans are mating with humans and giving them the mate's bite, which kind of puts them under their spell. And all chaos ensues. Some weird, freaky shit happens. This book's got some great plot points, like great. And I'm really excited about the plot of this story. However, there's a lot in this book that worked, but there's so much more in this book that didn't work that it overshadows everything that worked. And it bothers me to no end. What worked was that Adia Ward left questions unanswered, but in this instance, it was okay to leave these questions unanswered because it allows you for further developments and further installments that are going to be connected. It's not just you can read these books independent of each other. You should read them in the succinct order that they are to be read because of these unanswered questions. So I like authors that have that future perspective going on in their books. I appreciate that. Honestly, my favorite character in this book was the mom. She was hilarious. She was just she is the alpha queen, and she just doesn't take shit from anybody, and she's like, you can go fuck yourselves. Like, yes, I know you're my son, but you need to go do this. Just go do this. And the relationship she had with her boys, I just enjoyed it very, very much. She didn't take shit. She was extremely wise for being the matriarch, and I loved her. She was this book's redeeming grace, honestly. She was. Because what didn't work was a lot. So, here you go. So, the narration. I mentioned who narrated this, and that was, let me get their names again, Kurt Bonham and Stephanie Rose. Okay, this is my first dealings with these two narrators, and in this book, I do not have any other experience with them in any other audibles, but in this book, it was awful. I mean, it was incredibly nails on a chalkboard bad. It took every fiber of my being to not want to turn this off. I don't like DNFing books, especially when it's a freebie. It's like, it's free, just suck it up and do it. But this was awful. This is my note on my description of it. This sounded like Ferris Bueller on helium fucking a Kardashian that grew up in the valley who was employed as a cheerleader. That's exactly what it sounded like. And this book is called Dirty Wolf. So there is a lot of dirty talking in this book. And I feel like Adia Ward just had a thesaurus of naughty words next to her and wrote every single word down she could possibly think of in any randomized fucking order she could just to make it sound dirty. There was no reason for half of these words to be fucking said. It was awful. It was bad. I cannot stress how cheesy, how obnoxious, how tasteless and tactless and all those other words. Like, it was just fucking bad. It was bad, and it was bad. And the two main characters of Max and Galena were the flattest fucking characters I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, they literally had zero dimension. I didn't see a growth in Max. I didn't see a growth in Galena. And they're supposed to be, but there wasn't. The plot grew around them, but they didn't really change that much. I mean, she did physically change. Don't get me wrong. She physically changed. But it was just like, you have this law that you cannot mate with a human, and you're just gonna go fucking break it like super random easy because she likes dirty talk? Are you kidding me with this? Like, that's what broke the spell. That right there. Saying some naughty words and what she's gonna do to you when she lays you down. Really? Come the fuck on. Like, I love a good dirty talk every once in a while, don't get me wrong, but there is no fucking way if this shit was said to me, I would be like, oh yes, let's do this right fucking now. I am so turned on. I would look at you and be like, are you done using synonyms for my genitalia? Because, can you just fucking do it already? Because you sound like an idiot. It was bad. Bad. And then there's that ending. Adia Ward introduced literally right at the end of this book 3 characters and then just poof, they're gone. I mean, I'm not kidding. A guy and a girl walk in to the bar after this big, massive fight scene, which, by the way, done really fucking well. 80 Award killed it with that fight scene, and having Galena being like the victim, that was good. I applaud that. That was badass. But they have them walk in and then blow some dragon breath, and then poof, just we forget this even fucking happened. What was the point of putting in there? I literally thought that I was reading this book out of order because it was a freebie, but it was said the first in this series. So I thought maybe because 80 Award had other series prior that maybe you had to read the prior series to understand it. And that does happen, you know, carryover series. I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to let it go, do some further research. No, did that. And according to 80 Award, this is the first book you're supposed to read in the order. This is the first one in chronological order. This is her suggestion. How the fuck are you going to introduce 3 characters, give me one name, and say, oh, I'm sorry, I haven't introduced myself, but you're not going to remember anyway, poof, and then they're in a fucking living room. The fuck, lady? That's dumb. And then on top of that, you have literally the cheesiest ending of all. So we have Galena in a kitchen making some shots because she needs to get Max drunk so she can have some wolf babies. Okay? And he drinks one and says, this is kind of strong. Drink this one. This is kind of weak. And then she spills one on top of her. Oh, by the way, she's wearing a see-through apron. And says, I think you should probably clean it up. This is literally the package guy in the 80s porno film saying, I got a package for you. Let's open it and see what happens. It's that fucking porno. I was like, man, oh my God, really? I just wasted an entire day on this book. But you know what? It was so bad. It was so cheesy, but the plot was pretty good that I gave it a 3-star. And I kind of want to read the next installment, but I'm going to physically read it so I can create the voices myself. Because Ferris Bueller fucking Kim Kardashian living in the valley, employed as a cheerleader, just does not work for me. It does not work. No. So I do plan on continuing with this series, at least the next book, just to see if I physically read the book, if it's going to give me a different experience. Because this woman writes plus-size heroines. That's kind of her shtick. And I really want an author who will write plus-size women. I think that's fucking cool, and I want to support that. So I'm not willing to 100% give it up, but I'm going to give up the Audible books on this series. Because that was just torture. So that was my Audible experience for Dirty Wolf, and we're going to say goodbye to him. Thanks. All right. Now, while I was listening to those 2 audiobooks, I was physically reading The Looking Glass Wars by Frank Bedore. This is my Red Witch and Bitchin' book club of the month, and we did have our meeting. Shayla didn't read the book, so we have to talk about it another time. I'm loving this so far. I'm not 100% done with it yet, but I'm pretty close to the end. This is an Alice in Wonderland retelling where Wonderland is real. And Alice, at her 7th birthday, is celebrating her birthday party. We're introduced to Hatter Madigan, who, you know, is the Mad Hatter, but he's actually like the general of the guard. Her mother is the queen. And it's great. I love it. And then we meet Red, who is her aunt. Queen Red, you know, Queen of Hearts, who was actually supposed to be queen, but she was knocked out of the line of succession by her own mother because she believes and practices black imagination, while her sister, the younger, and Alice's mother, practice white imagination, which is good versus evil, obviously. So Red has amassed this army and attacks Alice's birthday party. Alice barely escapes with Hatter Madigan through the pool of tears, and they get separated. She ends up in London, and he ends up in like Siberia somewhere, and has to spend the next 10 years searching for her, while she lives on the streets until she's found, put in an orphanage, and adopted by Liddells, where she meets a religious man, and he writes down the story of Wonderland and tells it wrong. So that was really a cool concept to start off with. But when she finds out that the story is told wrong, she just, after years and years of people saying it's made up, it's fake, you can't believe this, she starts to believe all of this crap and stops believing in Wonderland. So on the eve of her engagement to Prince Leopold, Queen Victoria's son, both of her worlds come clashing together, and she is drawn back to Wonderland to regain her queendom that was taken from her by her aunt. And that is where I'm currently at, and I am loving this book. I am really, really enjoying this. This is the first installment in a trilogy, so that's pretty much all I got for this one right now, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it a lot. I really, really enjoy it, and I plan on continuing with the rest of the series. And I'm so excited that Shayla picked this, because her last Alice in Wonderland retelling begged a lot. Yeah, it wasn't very good. So this is a nice redemption for Alice in Wonderland for me. So, yay! The next book I started and I'm continually working on is another Audible book by Pam Godwin, and this is Delivered. Looks like this. This is a trip. This is the first installment in the Delivered series, but according to Pam Godwin, you can read this one by itself as a standalone. You do not have to read to start the series, but because that's what it says, and that's how I read it in first, I just decided to start with the series. This is also an audiobook as well. I did not write the narrators' names down, so I will get that next time for you. And it is a captive romance as well, but it also focuses on human trafficking and basically mental fuckery. I am not very far into it, but right now it follows Liv and Joshua. Liv lures Joshua in and proceeds to kidnap him and is planning on selling him into the sex trade, because the buyer wants a virgin male who hates females but isn't gay. Those are his criteria. So now she has 10 weeks to train him to despise the female body, but yet to be so subservient that his master will let him do whatever he wants to him. And he is a 6'5" linebacker, and she's like 5'3". So she has the help of Van, who did this same thing to her. So she is not just a captor doing this to a captive. She is a former captive who has been trained in the same way, but Van fell in love with her and saved her from being returned when she was no longer a virgin for her owner. So that's where this mental fuckery comes in, because she knows what she is doing to this boy because she has done it herself. She's gone through it herself. So there's this very hardcore internal struggle. And then Joshua, who is going to school for the religion, he is going to religious school to go into the church. He uses this as a teaching time to try to save her, because he understands that there is something more. This is not something she's really doing of her own free volition, because she's not. She does have reasons she has to do this. There was a surprise child, and that's another reason that Van is still with her and everything. And this book, I mean, it's quite disturbing. I can handle a lot, but they are literally breaking down how to break somebody. And it's kind of petrifying, because I actually think this shit could work. So this one is taking me some time to compress and work through. But from what I've read about Pam Godwin, these are the kind of books that she writes. She writes really deep. They dig in and they make you think, and they scare you. They're designed to scare you. So I'm fingers crossed this is going to be excellent, because it's already really, really captivating, and I'm loving it so far, but it is intimidating. It is scary. And he's only been with her for 24 hours, and they deprived him of all senses. Nose plugs, gags so he could barely breathe. He was put in a box that he barely fit in. Earphones to deprive him of sound except what they wanted to hear, and they put this really weird, sounds like a siren almost, kind of the way it was described, on the constant repeat to drive him kind of insane, blindfolded him. And it's very disturbing, because I feel like They are literally teaching you how to break somebody in this book, and that's scary. But that's where I'm at with this one. And I have made zero progress in this, just in case you were wondering. I'm still only 100 pages in. I barely touched it. So I've been focusing on this and Bratzo's Captive and that fucking god-awful Dirty Talk book. It was so... I'm going to give it another chance, though. I'm going to give that series another chance. Just because I want to like this girl's books because of the kind of heroine she writes. I want to like her. I really want to like her. So that's what I got for you this week. I posted my Mafia Romance Readathon wrap up on Monday, and I will link it down below so you guys can take a look at it, as well as a little birthday treat. May 15th is my birthday, so my girlfriends and I decided to play a little game of Never Have I Ever Book Edition, and I uploaded it this Sunday morning. So you guys will get to see that, and I will link it down below as well. So that is all I've got for you guys today, and I will see you guys all soon with another video. Bye.